Welcome to Lawyers Who Care, the video show podcast that highlights attorneys who go above and beyond for their clients. And on each episode, we're going to meet a new lawyer where they share stories of where they went beyond legal counsel for the benefit of their client. My name is Andrew Samalin, principal of Samalin Wealth, a nationally recognized wealth management firm for lawyers, their firms, and their families. So let's applaud Lawyers Who Care and learn from them. Today, my guest is Chris Markos. He's a partner at Williams Cedar based in Philadelphia. Chris is highly experienced in civil and human rights law, most particularly environmental as well. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks so much for having me.
So, Chris, tell us how you came to the law. What made you want to be a lawyer?
Well, in a sense, it was always inevitable, but it was also like not my life stream when I was little. But you know, in college, I started off kind of like at the science focus, ended up with a very liberal arts focus. I majored in English, and I had, a lot of professors who kind of encouraged me to give it a shot. And one great professor teaching one great class that kind of crystallized everything for me. And it was a legal history in the 20th century, focusing on sort of like change litigation, civil rights cases that had big impacts on the people involved, but also just in history. And at that point, it was inevitable. Went to law school the next year.
And how did you come to your focus, your practice focus?
Yeah, interesting, because I don't remember a time where I wanted to be a lawyer and wanted to be anything other than a civil rights lawyer. Like I said, that class kind of really crystallized things for me. And I was able, knowing that, that was the goal for myself, I was able to sort of like, put my effort and invest my time into things that would help get there. So the sort of, I was a little bit of indulgent in extracurriculars in law school, but I also worked with the ACLU in law school. I worked on voting rights in law school. I took a lot of civil rights and constitutional law classes, and it worked out. So, you stay in a network. It's a small network, and it's another important thing.
And the firm has other focuses as well?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Our firm turns 8 in about a month, but we have about 200 combined years of experience amongst us all. We do, in addition to civil rights and employment and environmental law, our lawyers will do products liability cases, medical malpractice, personal injury, consumer protection, class actions. One thing leads to another. Somebody falls down, at a store, then their brother gets beat up by a police officer, and we're able to handle, that whole gamut.
And when we were chatting prior to the video starting, we're thinking, do we talk about process? Do we talk about an interesting client story? And it seemed that your focus was more on a bridge between the two. Do we want to maybe share about, how the law can accommodate, the means and methods that you operate, but sometimes you need to go, in a new format. Do you want to share some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really want to advertise this, but we do kind of specialize in difficult cases. And
in what?
Difficult cases.
Difficult cases. Got it.
Just happens to be. And sometimes that's because the situation is difficult to resolve. You have two sides, heels very much dug in, and they're trying to resolve their dispute in a system where the only relief they can really get is financial, one way or the other, having to pay money or getting to get money, right? But that's not really the basis of their dispute or what they're would most satisfy their desires, would most make them happy. I've had a number of cases, with people like demonstrators, protesters, people who are very engaged with the First Amendment. And sometimes that activity offends the sensibilities of their adversaries that come to litigation. How do you resolve those cases? Well, you can take your chances at trial. And what's going to happen is, my clients would have the risk of you can't do the thing you want to do anymore. the opponent has the risk of they can continue to do the thing that is offensive or obnoxious to them. There's also the risk of money changing hands, and a lot of these demonstrators are not corporations or even businesses in any sense, right? Usually they're one person, a handful of people, or a small group. So in those situations, I feel like, yeah, you can negotiate money, or you can kind of get to the heart of the matter, understand who your client is, who their opponent is, what they're really about, and what they're really after. And in those kinds of cases, I've been able to, kind of come up with creative ideas to get everybody to the table and then away from the table, with the deal done. In one situation, it was, a dispute between people that had gone back probably 30 years. And it was, not one, cent of mine is going into that pocket kind of a situation. But at the same time, it's like the case can't settle without something being exchanged. I came up with a suggestion that ended up everybody going for where, all right, we won't pay you, but we'll pay this nonprofit that, I picked up on by paying attention to, the case and just stuff ancillary to the case that guy really cared about. And by coming to that agreement that, they're not going to pay him, but they'll pay this nonprofit a good chunk of money. And, at the same time, negotiating this sort of like rules of engagement between the two groups. We were able to
getting a tax deduction for a charitable deduction, for a charitable contribution.
Yeah. I try to stay away from tax liability issues as a litigation attorney, because that's not my bread and butter whatsoever.
Yeah. So everyone, this is my guest, Chris Markos. He's a partner at Williams Cedar. Chris, can you provide our audience with your contact information twice, please?
Yeah. So our email sort of form is first initial, last name. I'm C Markos with a K, Markos, at Williams Cedar. So William with an S, cedar like the tree.com. Same, that's our website, williamcedar.com. I'm located in Philadelphia, 1 South Broad Street, Suite 1510. We have an office in Haddonfield. I always forget the address. Haddonfield, New Jersey. So yeah, cmarkos at williamcedar.com. Williamcedar.com is also our website. And we're located at 1 South Broad, Suite 1510 in Philadelphia.
Beautiful. Everyone, this has been the Lawyers Who Care video show podcast that highlights attorneys who go above and beyond for their clients. And if you're an attorney or know one that does, feel free to reach us at 914-588, just about to give my cell number away, 914-666-6600, 914-666-6600. Chris, don't worry, we won't ask you for your cell number, but I thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew. It was a pleasure.